Hello Marvel fans and welcome to my latest Marvel review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Avengers: Age of Ultron. Released in 2015, directed by Joss Whedon, starring pretty much all the same cast from the first one, so Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, etc. I'm not going to go through all of them. Yeah, this is the 2015 sequel to the 2012 film The Avengers, or Avengers Assemble. Okay, so, I said in my previous review that I would also be reviewing this movie, and at the time I'm recording this, I have a review of the trailer for Infinity War that is up. They released the first trailer for Avengers Infinity War, so I'm taking a look at that as well. So, I mean, I was going to review this film anyway, regardless of the trailer of the next one. So, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Basically, the story is that Tony Stark and Bruce Banner instigate this kind of peacekeeping program known as Ultron, and then it goes horribly wrong, and they hack into Jarvis, and then Ultron forms into this sort of robotic computer live robot, and with his army plans to take over the world. That's pretty much it, and the Avengers have to stop him. So, yeah, it's Avengers: Age of Ultron. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I wasn't really a huge fan of this movie. I'm sorry. I think it's probably one of the weaker films in the MCU. Look, I don't hate this movie. I think it's okay. It's just okay. I can't quite give it a pass. I just can't. The simple reason of that is the story. The biggest problem with this film is the story. It just doesn't tell a good story. I think the story's nothing. It's nothing. It's filler. Ultimately, you don't need Avengers: Age of Ultron in the MCU. If you were to skip this one, you wouldn't really be missing anything, really, other than some new characters, which you'll see in later films anyway. I just think that this film is a bit bloated. It's a bit of a mess in places, and it tries to do too much in 2 hours 20 minutes. I think Joss Whedon had a hard time making this film as well, so I'm going to be fair, you know, in my review of this film, because I know he had problems making this movie. There was a lot of demands, and I think he was stressed. He was very stressed when making this film, so I appreciate all of that. And for what it's worth, Joss Whedon, he tried his best to make a great movie, but he just couldn't. I'm sorry. For me, anyway, look, I don't think it's awful. I think there's a lot of fun to be had. There's a lot of action. You know, it's entertaining in places, and it's nice to see the characters all back together. I just don't. It doesn't have the impact of the first movie. The first movie was great because it was them getting together for the first time, and the build-up to that made it worth it. And, you know, when the characters were coming toe-to-toe with each other, it was great. I mean, it was a simple movie, and it told a simple story. This is a simple movie that tries to do too much, and that's the problem. You know, if they'd have stuck to the formula of the first one, you know, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In that, just tell the simple story. But no, they try to overcomplicate things. You know, characters do certain things that don't make sense, like Thor goes off in his own quest, like, halfway in the movie, and then he comes back for no reason. It doesn't really add anything. They're just setting up. They keep setting up for the next, you know, few films, and ultimately it doesn't go anywhere. Like, really, they can't tell this story. And another problem I have with the movie is Ultron, the villain. I know this has been said by pretty much everybody who's reviewed this movie. I don't like Ultron. I think he's not a great villain at all. He just started to annoy me. I mean, the MCU have never had the best villains. They've always had very weak villains. I mean, well, Kate Blanchett being the slight exception in Thor Ragnarok. Ultron, while he looks great and he sounds menacing, every time they crack a joke, it completely loses the effect. I'm sorry. They tried to make him a joke, and it doesn't work. You know, a villain is meant to be intimidating, threatening. You can have him be, you know, kind of witty in his threats. You know, you can do that. You know, there's a way of being intimidating and being threatening and being humorous about it at the same time. You know, villains think they are the best. They think they're funny. They think they're amazing. And I understand what they were trying to do, but it was awkward. It was forced. Like, the way you do it, you know, you have him kind of say a brushing one-liner, you know, when he's threatening somebody. That's what you should do. Not like, oh no, wait, guys, oh, I'm sorry, oh no. Like, that's kind of what they do with Ultron, and it really started to piss me off. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. It just didn't work. I mean, James Spader, you know, despite his best efforts, he can't save the movie. There are some good scenes in the movie, like the scenes when they're all together is cool. I mean, there's tensions between the team because obviously Tony Stark and Bruce Banner caused this, so it's all on them. There's a great scene at the beginning of the movie when they're all sitting down and then they're trying to pick up Thor's hammer, which I thought was really good. That's probably one of the best scenes in the movie. I think it starts out pretty well, but then it descends into bang, smash, action. Because that's all it can do, which is such a shame, really. And that's when it becomes a real mess. I mean, by the time we get to the climax, you're already just exhausted by the action. There is just way too much action in this film. It is exhausting to sit through. I mean, Man of Steel has a similar problem. I mean, this is slightly more fun than Man of Steel. There's a great action scene when Tony Stark and the Hulk fight, you know, Iron Man and Hulk fight. It's called the Hulkbuster scene, I think that's what it's called. When they fight, and he's trying to, because Scarlet Witch has projected some kind of like vision, some kind of psychological vision in his head, and he's going mad, and then Tony Stark is trying to like beat him to calm him down. Obviously, it's not working. So that was cool, but the movie's long and baggy. It goes on, and it just really started to bore me. It really did. I mean, it was interesting to see Hawkeye's family. We got to see Hawkeye we see a more different side to Hawkeye. He has a wife, he has 2 children with a third on the way. So that was nice, you know, because Hawkeye was the character in the first film that didn't get barely any development because Loki controlled his mind. So it was nice to see that they actually developed Hawkeye as a character in this one. One bizarre thing that they do in this movie is they have a romance. Not with Hawkeye, no. With the Hulk and Black Widow. What? What the fuck? That is bizarre. I mean, why would she fall for this guy? I mean, she's clearly, like... I mean, they play it well. The actors do very well. But it just doesn't feel right. The Hulk having a romance? Nah, I don't buy that. I mean, it's doomed from the start. It's never going to work. You know, because he's a massive, great, big green monster. She's a master assassin. I mean, if they were to have kids, my God, their house wouldn't last 2 days. It'd be smashed. It'd be wrecked. I mean, you know. I mean, imagine what sex with the guy must be like. God, she'd make him angry. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I don't want to think about that. But, no, yeah, I mean, it's just, it doesn't really go anywhere, and it doesn't work. I mean, there's one scene when they're in Hawkeye's house, and they talk about what life would be like if they were in a relationship. I mean, because she's clearly got feelings for him. I mean, it's quite sweet, actually, to see that. There's an interesting scene also when Scarlet Witch projects visions into all of the team, and Cap has a vision of him and Peggy dancing, which is nice. Thor has a vision of Heimdall, which obviously sets up the Thor Ragnarok. I think, yeah, so that was cool. I mean, and Andy Serkis has a nice cameo in this movie. His character will appear in Black Panther as well. And I said, you know, for the first half of the movie, I thought it was fun. You know, I thought it was enjoyable. I thought it was entertaining. But as soon as we get to Hawkeye's house, that's when it really started to drag for me. The movie just dragged on, and then if they weren't sitting down and talking, they were just going bang, boom, smash, bang, crash, action. And that was sad. That was sad to see the movie just descend into basically nothing. I mean, that's what it is. It's a nothing movie. I think kids would probably enjoy it. I do think the movie's too long. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes. It's actually pretty much, I think, one or 2 minutes out from the first film. So they're about roughly the same length. but this feels a lot longer. It feels really long and dragged out, I think, because the pacing is just not great. And some of the new characters I didn't care for. I really didn't. I mean, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I couldn't give a crap about them. I mean, Quicksilver, spoiler alert, dies anyway, so what's the point, you know, of including him in the one film? Obviously, Scarlet Witch has become a more prominent character in Civil War, and she will probably appear in Infinity War as well. But he's pointless. And they're at first they're evil, and then they change sides. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, guys, all I can say is I'm really sad that this movie turned out the way it was. I wanted something that was at least as fun as the first movie, but it doesn't. I mean, the first film in the same sense was simple. It was simple. It was fun. It was enjoyable. It had a basic premise, but it ran with it. It knew what it wanted to do, and it ran with it. This film is a little bit all over the place. It doesn't know what it wants to do. It's trying to do too many different things at once, and it kind of comes to a crash at the very end. The first half of the movie is quite good, and you'll think, okay, this is getting somewhere. But then the second half of the movie, it's just basically, you know, it's a big action fest, and there's too much of it, and it's tiring. It's really tiring to sit through. It's too long. It's dragged. The music is good. I suppose I can say the music score is good. Nick Fury just appears out of nowhere, and he appears out of the shed, which is quite surprising. When this film came out, some of my friends, and if you're watching this, you know who you are, they went to see it. They saw it in a group with some other people, and one of my friends shouted out in the cinema. I wasn't there at the time, but one of my friends shouted out in the cinema when Nick Fury appeared. He went, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" So when he appeared on the shed, it is a little bit unbelievable how Nick Fury is just there. He's been hiding in Hawkeye's shed for so long. It's a bit surprising. I mean, I know in The Winter Soldier he faked his death, but even so. I don't know what else to say. I mean, the cast. Let's talk about the cast, because they do a good job. Okay, so, you know, good job Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, James Spader, as I said, he tries. Just Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. Don Cheadle appears in this movie as Colonel Rhodes. Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen. Their Russian accents could be a little bit off, but for the most part they try. And Paul Bettany appears as Jarvis. And obviously Vision. Vision is quite cool, I have to say. Vision is cool. It was nice to see him in the movie. And I did like Stan Lee's cameo. That was quite funny at the very beginning. But, I mean, visually it's impressive. I mean, the CGI is good. There's no question about that. But man, oh man, I just think this movie needed a restructure. The script isn't very good at all. I feel sorry for Joss Whedon, really. You know, I really think they should have, you know, cut him some slack, really. But, you know, at the end of the day, what's there else to say about Avengers Age of Ultron? It's okay, but it's down low on the list of MCU movies for me. So I'm going to rate this movie a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I think it's I think it had potential, but it was wasted. A waste of potential completely. The first film was way better than this, and it's so sad, really. It's so sad. But oh well, what can you do? Avengers: Age of Ultron. So, with that in mind, I would encourage you all to go and check my review out of the trailer for Infinity War if you haven't already. What do you think of Avengers: Age of Ultron? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please put your comments down below. Let me know. I'd like to know if there are some fans of this movie, because you know, it'd be nice to see someone giving a positive review. I mean, I wish I could, but I just can't. So now I'm going to move on to the Iron Man trilogy. Those three I haven't done yet. I'm trying to fill in the blanks of my MCU reviews that I haven't finished. So yeah, and obviously Black Panther is coming out in February, so I'm going to review that as well. But yeah, so stay tuned for more reviews. And thank you guys all for watching. And as always, I'm Mr. Thomas11. See ya.